Now it looks worse. Just looks worse. So it's got a little bit of direction to it, but it's not too much, and it's supposed to be in calm water, so, you know, whatever. So, should be fine. I do think we need something on the shoreline to blur it out a little bit for the calm areas here. Like a separate effect, pretty much. Alright, so we've got this value, and if this is going to be like 0.1, so if the value is greater than 0.1 at 0, otherwise it's going to be the value itself. I think it's going to be 1 minus the value itself. What is it, a divide? If I want to get the shore here, it's going to be like this value divided by 0.2. And then we do a 1 minus of it. And then I think we're going to need an exponential function here, so we'll take it to a power. That way we can kind of make the area grow larger. Alright, so this is going to go from like 0 to a number. Divide by 0.5, that's going to make things larger. what if we just... What if we just multiplied this out? We just let the shore kind of do its thing. Because we already have like a edge distance built into some other parts of our shader. I was screwing up my shader there by changing this on accident. So this will be calm shore edge edge blend color. So if we just multiply these together, maybe we can throw some stuff on the shore. So we don't just have like a flat shore that intersects with something. So if we have kind of our shape, we want a little bit of noise, but we don't want, we want like Perlin noise for this thing. We don't want some other kind of noise, I don't think. So this is calm shore edge blend speed. Alright, so if we add these things together, so that's the X, and this is the Y. So if we multiply these together, what does it look like? So maybe if there's an add here, I can add this in here. I don't know. Let's mess around with it and see if we can do anything with it. It's not going to look right in here, but it might look, you can kind of see what I'm trying to do with the shore stuff here, where we have an effect on the shore to kind of show where it is, but obviously it's too prominent. So, if we can have a constant in here, maybe we can just adjust the weight. This will be calm shore blend weight. So we'll see what we can do with this. I definitely think I need some sort of higher exponent here. So these different exponents that I'm plugging in here are changing kind of how fast this transition period happens. And then we can change how prominent the effect is. Doesn't seem like it goes out far enough. Alright, let's throw a constant out here and let's do this will be a parameter. This will be calm shore blend exponent. Let's set it to 4. Alright, so let's change the noise on this thing a little bit, see if we can make it less stupid. This will be calm shore edge noise size. So if we change the size to something very large, and if we set the speed to something very small, and we set the blend weight to something very small as well, we can kind of hopefully fill in a little bit of the shoreline. Can we even see that effect? It's there, but we can't even see it. Do we have to just exaggerate all this stuff to make it even show up? Looks like we do. And those ripples look way too... this stuff looks too big, I think. So I'll throw a constant in there. Convert that to a parameter. Alright, so this is going to be our calm shore noise size. So what this looks like in the game, it's more like that. Which I think that effect is doing what we want. Like, I think we've got basically what we want going on there. The big issues, of course, are going to be more along the lines of the reflection is overriding a lot of the colors, and like we're not doing lighting on, you know, there's no normal displacement or anything else based on any of this. I think that's going to be our biggest thing. It's like, that's probably a collection of effects that we can use. We don't have like standing ripples and stuff like that that might be good for a river, but maybe we don't necessarily. I'll just have to set up a separate thing and take a look at that. It seems like so. What are we doing for roughness right now? If we change the roughness to 1, that's what our water looks like. We have no reflections. Do we just, is a constant roughness good enough? This roughness doesn't appear to be doing what we think it should. Let's see how this roughness is actually getting added into this thing. Alright, so let's see, roughness. Like we're doing it here and we're passing it in. Roughness is a scalar value which goes from 0 to 1. It's the roughness of the water, which gets passed in directly into roughness. So it should just work. Yeah, good evening, Karakan. Whoops. That's the wrong thing. I don't want that open. So, got the right name going on? Supposedly. Is roughness used for anything else? Nope. So supposedly it's right there.
Very smart.
So it looks like Adam's also online now, working on more assets. I really like what he's been able to do with the grass in the new stuff. I think that's been working out real well. Because that was one of our big concerns, was, at least I know his concerns, because the grass is right up in front of the world. And if it looks like crap, then everything looks like crap, because that's pretty much the thing that's in your face. It's the grass. So I was looking into what is going on with this roughness, and I'm not really super happy with how it looks, because it's like as soon as it gets like past 0.25, it looks kind of odd to my eyes. Like a roughness of 0.3, just like it's like, what's going on here? This doesn't look right at all. Well, is there something with the material that maybe is going on? So it's default lit, it's opaque. Let's see what it looks like if we just say it's masked. Doesn't look like anything happens. What if it's translucent? See if it does anything for us. Still waiting for shaders compile in the world. Yeah, having it be translucent makes it look like utter garbage. Alright, no translucent, needs to be opaque. Alright, so default lit, maybe we should have like a subsurface color perhaps? Well, I think we want something to do with the roughness. Hello, Atrioid. Welcome. I'm just working on this game, Dashkin. How did I get started in game development? Well, basically back in high school. I mean, after college, I went to college just specifically for game development. A small private university where it's all focused on game programming and everything. So getting into the industry was real hard after even having a 4-year degree in, quote unquote real-time interactive simulation, computer science in, CS degree in real-time interactive simulation. So it was specifically all games programming. And even then, like, getting a job was a real pain in the ass. Like, I think it was like 170 resumes over the course of 6 months, somewhere around there. Like around 20 or so on-site interviews. And I eventually got a job breaking into a party that I should not have been in, complaining vehemently that the free beer was awful and that I couldn't find a job, and I was like super strung out and tired and just in like one of those moods where you're just like, life sucks. And I was complaining to people who needed to hire somebody, and that's how I got hired. Like, all right, well, we can fix that. You should come into the office tomorrow. And of course they called me the next day and they're like, you're not coming to the office today. We're all way too hungover and have not even shown up for work. So that's pretty much how it all got started. So what I'm thinking about is I want something that's going to take care of the roughness on this and make it so we can still see the waves and everything else. And I think we want to basically have a base color for the water. Like, this water base color right now is just black. So we need a base color. So we need like a water surface color. And I want that to be like real dark. So like basically black. And I guess we do an add in here. But if you're more curious about maybe how I started game development at all, well, I didn't program anything until college, pretty much. Like the first class in college, I didn't know what a variable was. I didn't know what a function was. I didn't know any of that. But I had taken like some summer boot camps at the university for game development, and like it was one of those where the guy teaching it had to like send me to go to lunch. He's like, dude, you haven't eaten all day. It's been like 8 hours. You need to go eat some food, otherwise I'm going to turn off the computer. I'm just like, no, I need to make this character move more. He's like, seriously, dude, this is an addiction. So I figured, why not make that my job, or my goal in life to have that as my job, since that's what I did. And that's pretty much how it works for me. So what I want to do here is, if we just make this bright white, does it do what we think it'll do? Yeah, it's just bright white. I want to take the magnitude of this. Like, I want to take, I believe, you're switching to CS in college right now. Well, computer science is, if you're looking to have a job, I think it's one of the best ways. It's one of the best degrees to get a job in an industry that doesn't suck. Like, computer science jobs are fun. Doesn't matter what you're doing. If you like programming and you have a CS degree, you will find a job where you like working with people. And, they get tons of benefits and bullshit, right? Like, how many tech companies have free lunches, or do things like rent out aircraft carriers for your holiday party. That's what they do that crap. You don't get that in a lot of industries. So it's a good thing if you like to program. If you don't like to program, it's the worst industry in the world, because that's all you're going to do is write programs and then throw the code away when you're done with it. Game development is probably the lowest paid of actual computer science stuff, but it's also probably the most interesting, because unlike selling stuff on a storefront or something else, games are always changing, and you're never going to have a not exciting day at work. Well, I would say you will have non-exciting days at work, but your work will always be different, so you will never be bored of it. And game teams are real flexible. Like, say you're working on a game team. Say you're working on like a team for a storefront for Amazon or something. Like, within that team, let's say you get bored of doing database stuff, and you're like, I want to do more front end stuff. Like, there's only so much you can move on that same team, and like change what skills you're working on. So you get like really good at database calls or something. It's like, well, okay, cool. But there's not much you can do, versus if you're like working on a game team, you're like, you know what, I really don't like this back end programming stuff. Can I work on the front end UI this week, or give that a try for a couple months, or can I do some AI stuff, or can I work on some of the tools code or something to help out? And there's a lot more opportunities for moving around on a team, because there's a lot more specialization stuff to do. Anyway, I think basically what I want to do is I want to take this node, I want to take the magnitude of this color, clamp it from 0 to 1 and add that to the roughness. So as we write stuff in here, the water gets less reflective. I don't know. Let's see how it works. So if we let's take the absolute value of this. Let's add a comment over here. Let's say roughness. And let's see if we can figure out some value here to make it so this transparency doesn't go absolutely insane on us. So if we add these together, we might be able to do something with it. Imposter syndrome, especially among some people who are coming into college having programming when they were in grade school. Yeah, that's one of the things, is like how many years of programming experience would I have? It would be like 4 years in college and then like 8 years in the industry, and I'm still here skirting around like just doing random stuff. And the thing is, there's so much to do with programming that there's always something new, which is, I think, the best part of programming stuff, is that there's always something new to do. But yeah, that was one of the things that when I went into the industry, I was one of those. I was always, my question to my producer, you'd have like a one-on-one with your manager every, so often, kind of standard stuff. And I always like, where are the experts? Where are the people? Because you're in college or something, you read books like Masters of Doom, and you're like, there's super smart people like Carmack, and you read about, legendary things in code bases like, here's the fast square root 2 that made Doom work properly. And you're like, where are the super smart people who made all that stuff possible? Who did all that? Because, when I was working at Electronic Arts, that was kind of one of the things I was like, where are these guys? Because we're just a bunch of, everybody was just figuring stuff out. We even had Soren Johnson as our designer for Dragon Age Legends. And if you know Soren Johnson by name, he made, Off-World Trading Company and Civ 4, like, that's his big claim to fame. And you're like, oh man, we got all these people who know what the hell they're doing. And then, like, you go work and you're just like, God, nobody knows what the hell they're doing any day. As you're just figuring it out. Alright, so if we have the roughness be like straight up added to by the water, that's sort of what it looks like. It makes it look really damn cartoony. So yeah, imposter syndrome is real, but I don't know. Just keep working on stuff. Now, why is this doing what it's doing, is my question. Because it's going too high, I think. So if we normalize this vector and take the length, I'm an idiot. Alright, we want to get the vector length. Well, if you find programming fun, then you'll do just fine in the tech sector. So let's see if we can do anything to this variable to mess with it. I think the math thing in programming is a little bit overstated. Like, it's not like you're there doing math every day. It's all data structures and understanding, how memory works and stuff like that. Like, it's not like you sit down and somebody's like, all right, you need to like rasterize a triangle or some crap. Unless you're working at like a physics company, like that just doesn't really happen because all that crap is already done for you. You're like, well, just pull up the physics library and we're finished. Like, if you're wasting your time screwing around figuring out, like deriving the projection matrix to make your pixel shader, you're kind of doing it wrong. Like, you could be as smart as you want, but you're not going to be helpful to the team. So it's really just like, some basic math stuff that you work on. And if you can just, it's about being able to sit down and just trying to understand a problem. That's about it. Because pretty much, like, even me, I've got, like, if I need to do some basic math stuff, I don't even think about it anymore. Like, I wrote the code at one point in the last 12 years that does it, so I just, if that code is available to me, it's like, not code that illegally was stolen from a company or something, then you just go look it up and just be like, here you go, here's the code that does it, and then you can move on with your life. So you only have to solve that problem once and understand it once for, it's like when you're writing regular expressions or something. Your amount of knowledge of regular expressions increases until you know what the hell you're doing. No dark mode, are you human? It's like your knowledge of regular expressions goes to like super, I actually understand everything here for the amount of time you write it, then you write it, and then you're done, and then you forget everything you just did. And no dark mode, I know. I'm an evil person for doing this. That's just what I do. I don't know. I just use the defaults for crap because I don't care anymore. I stopped caring about things like that a long time ago. So let's see if I can throw a constant in here for how much we can override. So this will be our roughness modifier. I don't know what the hell to call this. But if we call this like, this thing, and then we multiply it by 0.2, then we can kind of opaque out our water. We'll make it not reflective up to 0.2 based on the color that we're drawing. So let's see what that looks like. And yeah, we're ignoring, all this stuff like the interaction between the surface here. That's all going to be covered up by particles and bullshit later. So I'm not too worried about it. So I think we need to up that value. Let's see if we can do it without making it look like complete garbage town. That's not really doing what I want. So if we do like a roughness of like 0.1, I just don't understand what is going on here with this roughness calculation where this stuff just like goes straight to hell. Is that just lighting that's coming in and doing weird crap for us? Because there seemed to be some sort of degenerate case here coming in, which is screwing stuff up. Like, I just don't want this to reflect as much, but when I make it not reflect as much, It just, I can't see any of the reflections though. It makes me think, like there's kind of like as soon as it goes from like, you know, 0.3 to 0.29, 0.28, 0.27, 0.26, and then 0.25. I guess it is starting. You can kind of barely see it with that pillar. Alright, so I think I'm gonna have to have like the roughness max, and it's gonna be like, we'll subtract these values. So the roughness max minus roughness. And roughness max we're gonna set to like 0.25. Alright, I think that's doing pretty much what I want. I don't like how it really messes with some of those. But, I mean, what are you gonna do? I'm gonna complain and whine about it. Said a lot of this crap is completely dark, probably, and it's all sorts of screwy. So what other tools have we got in our tool belt that we are not using? So we're using our roughness modified by kind of our surface noise, but we don't have any normal modifications for this, so we're not like building any normals based on it. I mean, we could try some normals, but what would it look like? What would we actually need to do for changing the normals of our surface? Why don't we try something like throwing our height map texture in here as our normals? So let's see what this even looks like here. So those are normals. They're all trash, but maybe we can do something with them. Yeah, you can see we'd get some nice effects along the edge there with some sort of normals, where we get, you know, glistening water. So we definitely need to get these normals here. So how are we going to get some decent normals out of this thing? And we basically have to follow the same rules that we already are. So we need to follow the rules here and over here. Oh, Adam's actually cracking open the waterfall stuff. Well, I'm sure he'll have fun with that. That's one of the things. Hopefully, he'll be working a little bit more with some of the blueprint systems, so we can learn some of the technology behind it. So let's see what sort of effects we actually see at this angle with changing normals. I'm not seeing a whole lot. I mean, we might see some, but we will have to see it. I'm not seeing the same effects I would expect, but I don't know. Why don't we see what we can do here? Question, I guess, would be, how do we turn some of these values here into normals? Like, we basically would need these textures, and we need to turn those into normal maps. Okay, so I can use Unreal Engine itself to generate some noise textures, is what it looks like. Alright, so it looks like the next thing I need to figure out is the water flow looks great. Adam had it just open, much neato. Yeah, there's stuff that's actually coming along. Like, Like, I mean, it looks like water-ish now. You know, I mean, there's a lot of stuff that's wrong with it, but there's a lot of stuff also that we can cover up. And that could, you know, have better stuff. We need normals on here and all the rest. And of course, there's a lot of clashing stuff in this scene, like, you know, these mushrooms look stupid in the middle of this cave, and the rocks are all potatoes and everything, but it's starting to not be just complete trash. Like, this stuff here looks stupid, and the outside looks stupider. So Atrade, how do we share a development environment like this? It's actually not too hard when it's only 2 people. Basically how it works is we've got a version control server, which is running in West Virginia, or in Virginia or wherever. And we share code that way. Like, if you know how Perforce works, we use Perforce. It basically, you check out files, like you would check out a book from the library, and then you can edit those files and then check them back in. So if Adam's working on the waterfall, and he's actually like saved that or whatever, so like if I check this thing out from source control, Adam wouldn't be able to mess with the waterfall or anything like that. And if he had checked it out, I'd see a little lock icon on here, and stuff would do that. So like, so you can see basically what people are doing all the time. Like if we look at like our revision history, we can see like when people checked everything in, what files they're touching, everything like that. So that way we can work on stuff. Of course, some files do not work properly with version control, like Perforce. Perforce basically makes everything read-only on your operating system, and then a lot of dev tools will hook into it for version control. And some things don't work very well at all with this. I'm looking at you, Toon Boom Harmony. Anything that makes a whole bunch of files